Good evening. This is your host, Karen.
And good evening. This is your host, Paul. We both welcome you to Garam Chai with Karan and Paul. On behalf of Karen, myself, Saryanu, Sastrikad, Namaste, Salam Alaikum.
Well, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਮੰਗਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ you're more than welcome to speak Punjabi and if you want to carry on in English you're welcome to speak in English ਜਿਹਦੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ we're okay with both as we're all bilingual here.
Since we live in a multicultural nation, it's only fair that we have a bilingual debate show. So without any further ado, let's start this Garam debate underway.
Well, we have a very exciting show for you tonight. We have debaters from our own backyard and from the other side of the world.
Yes, Karen, this just proves that interracial marriage is a very Garam topic, not only here in Canada, but also abroad, as we have debaters from Surrey all the way down to India.
Well, over the decades, we have experienced many changes within the South Asian community. Changes such as arranged marriages to love marriages, and from live-in relationships to interracial marriages.
Well, certain changes within our community have been accepted. For example, we're seeing more and more interracial marriages in our community. Karen, as you know, when we attend a lot of our friends and families' events, we always see a presence of international partners. It's nice to see people from all walks of life freely coming without any borders and being accepted.
Well, exception, I'm not sure. In some cases, it is merely tolerated and not necessarily accepted.
What is the difference?
Well, when change is tolerated, it is accepted artificially on the surface, whereas acceptance comes from within the soul. For example, if your best friend's daughter chose to marry interracially, you could tolerate it, but would never accept it if it was your own daughter doing the same thing.
Well, some would argue changes are taking place when it comes to interracial marriages. They're being accepted more with open arms, even though some still might frown upon. But the concept of walls of resistance are slowly being torn down, perhaps not as quickly as we'd like them to.
Well, once again, you are listening to Garam Chai with Karan and Paul, the only debate show within the South Asian community where we bring controversial topics to our platform and, unlike others, ask tough questions.
As we stated in the beginning, we have a fabulous debate set for this evening. I would like to welcome individuals debating in favor of interracial marriages. They are Chanchal from Richmond, BC, Canada, and Parm from beautiful Surrey, BC, Canada.
And it gives me a great pleasure to introduce those debating against interracial marriages. They are Bhavana Dhawan all the way from Delhi, India. And I regret to say that because of technical difficulties, we have not been able to connect with our debater from Glasgow, Scotland. So we will carry on.
But we are hoping that he'll be able to sign into Zoom prior to the end of our show. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, with a cup of Garam Chai, let's enjoy a Garam debate. Well, Chanchal, why don't you take this opportunity to provide our listeners a synopsis of your life experience and why you're in favor of interracial marriages?
Well, first thing, when I came to Canada, I went to business college here. I met a beautiful girl there, and she was not my culture even, but I fell in love, and we went to school together in 1974. We got married in 1978. And we have lived actually together about 6 months together just to make sure we are comparable for each other. And since then, I have no problem. My friends, my relatives, even my parents were in India. They accepted it. They were so happy that I chose my partner myself. And even my friends here, they celebrated my weddings when we got married in 1978. They were all dance and all that. They have no regret that why I'm married to another culture. So since then, I have beautiful children. I let them free, do whatever you wanted. All three children married to a different culture, and they are all happy. So that's how I can tell intermarriage is a beautiful way to do it. I'm married 42 years now. And no problem in the family.
Chanchal,
with a friend.
Yeah, when you got married in you said 1974?
78.
1970. Were there a lot of interracial marriages at that time?
I knew that time a couple of my friends' sisters were married to the white guys, at that time.
Right.
And they are still married, no problem. Their children are free to go, and there's some married in our own culture, some married in other cultures, and they are happily ever after.
Well, Parm,
When you say you're married interracial, did you marry brown or white?
My wife is white.
well, Parm, why are you for? What brings you to the side of being for interracial marriages?
Well, I think just because we obviously evolve and as adults, and you get to realize that people are just people, right? You know, we kind of taught religion. Our parents, you know, they're from India, and my parents came from India to England in 64. And so their programming was such that, you know, and they raised us to, even my sisters, to marry Indian, you know. And so there was a lot of that back then. And so in our family, my older sister, who was 18, she got married to a guy from India in Canada. So she came from, my parents obviously arranged the wedding to come here. And probably lasted about 10 years. She had 2 kids. And then she left him and she married a Canadian-born Japanese fella. Obviously well educated and the rest of it, nice guy. And but obviously my parents weren't very happy at that time that she left her husband, right? So my parents didn't talk to my sister for 10 years.
Wow.
So this is going back to 1995. And then probably around 2005, after about, I mean, they have one child together as well, Brendan. And so obviously parents, as they get older, we used to talk to our sister, and they had to grow from that too. But I think with the parents too, because it's pre-programmed in them from a childhood. And then first of all, it's a pride, right? My dad was a very proud man, very big man, and still is actually, but and egotistical too, isn't it? So they don't know those things, the ego and the pride and all the rest of it, because they're not educated. And back then, even in the 80s, 90s, and probably only in the last 12, 15 years that they've been able to educate themselves, you know, because of the shows that are on TV now. They listen to the radio station and all the shows that we have. Even they've grown now. But before it was what people said, right? And, you know, what's society going to think?
Well, were you ever part of that too? That what is society going to think? What is my sister doing? Like she's not listening to mom and dad. She's not following the cultural views or the cultural rules, I should say.
I supported her.
Oh, okay. So you supported your sister?
I supported her because at the end of the day, she was something that she chose to do. And, I mean, he wasn't a bad guy, her ex-husband. He never drank. He was a great guy and all the rest of it. You know, he'd cook and clean and the rest of it. So he changed diapers. And so we couldn't say that he was any of those, but maybe because she was born in England and he was from India, there was always certain clashes, right? Of how, you know, control issues, or, you know, you can't wear this, or she worked in the bank, so she had a good job at the bank. So she had to dress up. Obviously there
was your sister younger or older than you?
Older. She's 4 years older than me.
Okay. And what if it was the other way around? Because I'm assuming that she was a breadwinner or someone that you respected. So, and you never thought, in your eyes, that she's doing anything wrong. Now, if your sister was younger than you, would your opinion still be the same?
Yeah. I think out of the 3 of us, I got 2 older, 1 younger sister. She had a love marriage, but she did marry an East Indian fella. But at the same time, you know, like I guess I would have supported her, right? I just would have, being born and raised in England too, so I get it. I mean, it's always easy to say, isn't it, that like you said, caring about acceptance, like it doesn't hit home until it actually hits home. You know, somebody will ask you about your kid, and I've said present to myself, I want my kids to get married. I hope to marry a brown person, and not a black guy or something. And I have said that, but and that's probably part of genetics too. It's something that you've learned and stuff like that as a childhood, and I think we do carry that. But if my daughter or my son was to bring home another cultural goal, what can I say to them now?
Right.
Well, even with
There's only some.
did your parents, when you supported your sister, were your parents supportive of you supporting your sister, or did you get backlash for that as well?
We had to keep it hush hush because it just didn't like the conversation, right?
No, of
It
course.
just would stir them, right? So
Well, now we're going
we
to move on to beautiful Bhavana here that's been sitting quietly. So, Bhavana, what are your views? You're not for it. So, what brings you to that? What made you feel that interracial marriages is not the thing to do?
In my opinion, I feel that while we feel that love may be the basis for a potential of a wonderful and an enriching relationship, it may be helpful for us to avoid believing that it's only love and love that will trump all the obstacles, because this is not really realistic. As it is, marriages are a lot of work, and if it becomes even more harder and complex if you were to marry someone who does not hail from the same community or from your faith and is not from your same race and religion. I mean, it's sad, but yes, that's true. Because if you're marrying someone outside of your race, it would require the two people to be especially mature, respectful, and compromising. And while they may take significant amount of effort, sometimes there could be external influences that can cause irreparable damage between the couple. For example, there could be the parents or the in-laws which are not accepting the relationship. As it is, the marriage is a lot of challenge, and if the family is not for it, it could really be a lot of a huge task for the couples to make it work. Now they would constantly keep they might constantly complain about the girl not being able to meet their expectations or speak the same language, or they might fear that the girl will not be able to carry forward their values or preserve the culture that they have, or may not even celebrate the same festivals that they have been celebrating over and over the years. So this could, I feel, have a negative impact in the bonding of the couple. And I mean, the long-term marriage might get significantly affected. Their, well-being level, the happiness quotient in the relationship can get marred significantly if you are not accepted by the society. Because believe it or not, it's a deep-rooted thing in our society. We may not say it openly, we may not speak it, but it is there. And an analysis that has been conducted a decade ago found that 10 years after they marry, the interracial couples have a 41% chance of separation or divorce, as compared with a 31% chance among couples who married within the same race. And this has been according to a study by the National Survey of Family Growth. So I feel the data is there, and also I have personally witnessed many cases when initially it was all about being love, and you feel that on a good day it's just two people who really love each other doing the life together, and on a bad day it's like it was as if it were our histories were in so much conflict that we'd never make it work. So, an interracial couple will possibly face extra challenges in their marriage. Now, this could make you feel hurt, you could feel sad, and you could at times be totally helpless with the situations, because there is only so much that you can do. And remember, when you are in in this kind of a marriage, there could be a lot of issues in expectations, and managing the expectations could be two ways. One is that as a couple, you have to manage the expectations, because initially we may think that we share the same world and we have the same vision for our future as together when we first fall in love. And yet the daily grind may soon make us realize that we view things differently, because it's the culture, it's our culture that eventually shapes up. Even when we are growing as a child, we have a certain imprinted belief system. I mean, believe it or not, I mean, even as a child, he would know what to speak, how to speak. The parents will tell them that this is how you have to pray, this is your faith, this is how you are supposed to be. You are going into a certain society that would want you to behave in a certain way or celebrate certain festivals. And it is very, very different when you are bringing cross cultural people. There could be a lot of differences. Now there could be a lot of issues. I mean, we will discuss as we go further, like when you are having children, it could be a huge issue as to what faith will they follow.
Bhab-
And if your family, yeah.
Bhavna, changes. I mean, it's obviously very important for us to evolve. If there's a positive change, why not let it happen? For example, in India, you live in a very advanced city. People are
Hmm.
open-minded. Are
Hmm.
people practicing racial marriages there or no?
Not racial. I would not say racial marriages are as much, predominant. In yes, you are very right to the extent that we are very liberal. We are living in a metropolitan, and a lot of people are now open to the idea of accepting people. However, I would say that there are certain sections of the society which are very rigid. They are still very orthodox in the kind of way they think. I mean, let me tell you something. I know Indian parents, okay? They have young children who are studying in the US or somewhere else, and they are secretly wishing that their child does not fall in love or romantically gets involved and comes back to them saying that I want to marry someone who
But
is not from my past.
yeah, and you know what? Like, Gentle, what about you? How, like, she's saying we're brought up in a certain culture, a certain way, and you were brought up in India. And then you come to a country, and all of a sudden, there's a whole different liberation. You're dating interracially. I mean, did you find that there was that cultural difference? Like, what about your religion? What religion did your children adopt? One of you had to be flexible to make it work. What was it? What was it that made you two work? Because you're probably one in many that has been successful.
Uh, I, am I talking now? Okay. uh, well, first I was open-minded even when I was in India. I was not care about. I tell you, like even like in India, where they talk about it's a low, high caste, low caste, untouchable. I even didn't believe in that. I have even once I was told when I was in a college, I went to play outside a sports called kabaddi. I was coming back home. I was putting my arm around one of the what they call the Shudra caste, untouchable person. My arm was around him, and my uncle saw me. He said, "What were you doing there?" I said, "I came playing kabaddi, and he's my friend. Why are you doing it?" I said, "So I can friend to do whatever I wanted to do." He said, "Go take a shower there, clean yourself." I said, "I'm not going to do it." Because he's my friend. He's my friend. I was open-minded even when I was back home, and I never cared about the society, what they think over that. I said, my life, I have to enjoy the life I wanted it. If I put my life for someone else, it's not my life then. I have to decide what I wanted, how I'm gonna be happy. I don't care about the neighbors, what they are thinking. So all my life was like that. My children are like that. I let them free. My three children are married into a different. Older, my son married to a native woman. My daughter married to Indian. So my younger son married to half and half also. So I let them free, and whatever you want to do it, and what culture you want to follow, it doesn't bother me. What religion you want to follow is your choice, not me to tell you become a Singh or a Hindu.
So
You
you
decide
never
you want to
had
go.
anybody tell you, like, Janjal, it's time for you to move on. You need to get out of this marriage. You need to come back and be part of the Indian society, or was it was just very accepted?
Said it. Maybe somebody never liked it, but I never. I heard one rumors, but nobody said it on my face, and I never cared. So I said, if I start caring, listening to people, it was my life ruined, not theirs. Why should I worry about their life than my own?
Parm,
So I'm happy since, and so happy. My friends are happy. My children are happy. That's what I want. My family happy. My parents happy. My grandparents were happy. My parents were so happy. My taya, what they call in India, my dad's older brother, he was so happy when I got engaged to my wife. Yeah. And I
Parm,
told them before I got married, we were engaged now.
Parm, your sister, how many children does she have with her husband?
I have my sister.
No,
Who?
Parm.
My older sister has one son, Brendan, who's now 20,
Oh, okay.
and then she has two previous, a boy and a girl from her first marriage, and
And
they're probably good
and
29, 28, 30 now.
and what kind of relationship do you have with the children?
Oh, great. My sister lives in Chilliwack, and she's moved there quite a while ago now. So obviously we don't get to see her as often. I used to live out that way, so I've always been closer to my older sister. And Brendan too, and Johnny, my nephew, just got married last year. And my niece, I get along fine with him. I don't see him any different way. No.
Yeah, the reason I was asking, because Karen and I, we interviewed so many people, both males and females. And unfortunately, we only can have two debaters on each side. And one thing that was consistent when we asked them why they were against interracial marriages was to do with children. As you know, it's bad enough right now. Marriages are, they're taking a lot of, it takes a lot of work to make them work. Especially when you're, just in your own community, let alone.
I've had two, so I know.
let alone having children from an interracial partner. So was this something that was difficult for them in terms of how children should be raised, or were they, would they cooperate with one another and exposing both religions, if not more?
Well, my older niece, she stayed with her dad more as she got older because she was more. I don't know if she was close to her dad, but because of her friends, and they were in the South End community then. She used to live in South End. So Preeti was always that kind of independent girl where, she had friends from school and all that kind of stuff. Whereas my nephew was more mummy's boy. So when they moved to Chilliwack from Ted and Cam, they lived in Burnaby for a while, for a couple of years. And then, so he would always live with his mom. And then obviously Brendan came along, but no, I think the kids, for the most part, my sister too isn't highly religious and all that too, and Ted isn't either. And I don't think they carry too much of the cultural values. So I think that never really came too much into play.
See, and that's the thing. I've actually I spoke to a friend whose son is now married to a Christian boy. And when they went to go get married, the father of the bride said, well, he will not attend the wedding unless they have a Christian wedding. So they had to have a Christian wedding. Now, the boy had to give up his religion, pretty much, I felt, his identity, to become a part of a different family. Now, when you ask him, for him, it was all about love. But yet, he wasn't even sure if he felt married, because for him, a wedding was always a Sikh wedding. But he loves, they have a great relationship. They're married, they're happy. But yet, somewhere along the lines, he feels he's lost himself. He's lost his identity. How would you respond to that, Bhavna?
I think that's very true, Karen, because I think that due to, when you're marrying someone, you are marrying a whole lot of family. Like, especially in this part of the world, we say that it's not a marriage of two people, really. It's a marriage of the whole family. And you look forward to getting accepted in the family. You look forward to celebrating with them and being a part of the family. Now, if you were to mold yourself and compromise on your own identity of who you are, what you've grown up living, what you've grown up with, your value system, it could be a lot. You may marry initially, like the way you just said that he had to convert, but maintaining that bond of love and managing the expectations is not going to be very easy.
Well, that's what I'm
And
wondering,
as
Chantal. Like, how did you manage? Like, what did you do with your children? What religion did you choose? Which identity did you take? Like, how did you raise your children?
When my children were growing up, they were going to the temple majority of the time with my mother, and they love to go to prashad to eat.
Oh, wow.
And even my older son, when he drive by the Gurdwara, he always, even in his car, he will stop and matha take from the car. And he believed my daughter, when she got married, we had two weddings, one Christian, one Gurdwara wedding, because she married to a Singh family, right? And they go to Gurdwara every weekend. And she goes to Gurdwara, she does her own Christian way, what she wants. They never refuse her, and they are happily, she have 3 children. They go to Gurdwara. And
So
they
you
do
and your
everything
wife never had conflict on what religion you wanted to follow, or was it?
No, we never argue on that issue. It's up to the children what they feel it. And we never force them to do whatever you wanted. Just enjoy your life. Just respect your family, and respect us. Respect your grandmother. My mother lived with us all her life. She passed away 2 years ago in February, and we never heard anything from my family. My brother is here. His wife is here. My brother's wife is Christian actually, and she goes to church almost 7 days a week.
Wow.
And my brother goes to Gurdwara. So we have no problem with the family, my nephew and nieces and all that. And
Well, that's really good to hear, because that means that you've done very, you're lucky. You're one of the few lucky ones that didn't have to struggle. Like for Parm, how did your parents, like, are they accepting this now? Are they still not talking to your sister, or are they talking to your sister?
Well, yeah, from 95 to 2005, they never talked to her. And then like after 2005, obviously we put pressure on our parents too. My other 2 sisters, and they kind of come around. But no, Ted comes around, and my dad and him will have a beer together, a drink together. So
do you ever question your dad? What was it that was holding him back? Why wasn't he talking to her? What was it that made him just say, no, I'm not talking to you for 10 years, and then all of a sudden he decides that now it's okay?
Well, I've never asked him that way. I just know why. I think it's just because, like I told you, growing up like in our town in Leamington in England, my dad is a very well-known man and respected too in the community. So obviously his pride and his ego was in the way. Ultimately, it wasn't really anything beyond that, right? I mean, he could have not talked to her for the rest of his life, and he would have suffered, and my sister would have suffered. For what reason? So he obviously had to come around himself, right? And I think maybe just with myself and my sisters, talking to them and educating them, he came around. So I know sometimes even now when he's had a drink, sometimes he still just says, yeah, your sister did the deed.
Chantal, you were saying
if
that
mad, if he's mad internally about something else, he still brings it up. It's like,
Yeah.
So he's never going to get over it, because that's how they're raised. It's in his blood. It's in his DNA, right?
Right.
Even though he's accepting, it might be 50-50, but obviously because of us and my sister and Ted, because it's not his fault, and the kids, what choice does he have, right?
Yeah.
Chantal, you were saying that your mom lived with you.
Yeah.
what kind of relationship did your wife Wendy and you have with him?
You know, my mom, the relationship with my wife was so good, even they don't understand each other's language. But my mom and my wife, they were like so close, you know, like a, you don't even believe it, you know. And that she died in our house, like last 4 years, she lived with us, and my wife looked after so much. And my mother used to tell all her friends, you know, I think my daughter-in-law, she's white, she's better than the Indian daughter-in-laws. She was so good relationship between each other, you know.
It's beautiful.
Just want to ask if you think there was more acceptance of interracial marriages, and parents did not force their children not to
I
get
think
married,
that
would there be less interracial marriages?
I think interrelation, because usually that your parents, your children are afraid from the parents. If I do this, maybe I'm not going to respected in the family. So it's up to the parents not to involve on these things, and then I think they will be happy. And I think, to my knowledge, when you mix marriage or different culture, your children will be better off, different languages, and they know the world more, what different cultures are. If you always in your culture, you don't know what is going on other culture, how respectful they are. Like my in-law side, like before I was thinking, you know, you always talk about other culture, oh, our religion, oh, white people, this, but when I got to know them, their high classes are like, they are better than our classes, high classes, you know. My wife's grandfather was IG police. My father-in-law was Air Force pilot. My mother-in-law was a nurse. And they are so respected. They respect me so much. I never believed it when I started visiting their house, 1974, when we were not married, since we got married in 78. And they respect me just their own son.
So you were lucky.
So
You were the lucky one where you got accepted, like both when your wife got accepted into the
even
family
that,
and you got accepted.
even that time, I'm 71 years old now. At that time, you know, and respect that my in-laws family was so respectful. They respect me so much. I don't believe any other way around.
Well, Bhavana, you know, just being from India, I'm going to actually take this to a woman. If there's a woman that decides to go marry interracially, what are the chances of her being disowned? Because, you know, you hear about honor killings, you hear about, you know, people that are extremely against it, right? Whereas a boy, do they still get away, if you're a male, that you can still get away with marrying interracially, whereas you're a woman that you can't get away with them?
To a certain extent, I would say yes, because you know how the Indian society is you know mainly, you know, we have a patriarchal society, and it's a male-dominated socio-cultural environment that, you know, how we are living in. But ultimately, if I were to talk about marriages, interracial marriages, I feel that it would totally depend upon the family, the kind of race that you are marrying into, and how strongly do they feel about it. Whether they are more open, they are more liberal. You know, like Chanchal just said that he got lucky. He was lucked out with on both sides. However, in India, if you were to ask me, I feel that there are people who are more traditional in that sense, and they really want to preserve this culture, and somewhere they feel that if there is an interracial marriage, there would be a, you know, a dilution in terms of their own culture, in terms of preserving of, you know, their value system that they have. And I can even tell you that someone you know, near to me got married. He brought a Australian wife, you know, and he came to Delhi. And his mother, you know, just in a day, she had a lot of shame in introducing her and in telling her what to wear, how to dress, and she had a very tough time, kind of making her way through, talking to her, and she just left the next day. And similarly, there have been so many marriages that have fallen apart when you've really gone ahead and had an intercultural, interracial marriages. I know a lady got married in to a Sri Lankan. She's an Indian, and 2 days, 2 years they were good, and suddenly they found that they cannot cope up with the pressure that they are having because of their families, because of their internal differences, and even because they have lesser shared values. And I think in such situations, if you have less social support, you kind of start feeling very isolated, and the lack of acceptance really leads to a greater conflict and a lot of arguments within the couple itself.
Well, you're
So
listening to
this
Garam Chai with Karan and Paul. Parm, how would you respond to this? Now, your sister being female, and she was disowned. Now, if you look at Janchal being male, it seems like he was accepted with open arms by his family, by everyone around him. So is it because he is male, and your sister actually got the stick or pretty much disowned for a while because she was a female? How would you like to respond to that?
It's true what you're saying. Absolutely, the acceptance of what a guy does in our culture is more accepting, and the boys don't do wrong. But if it's a girl, definitely it's frowned upon more.
And why is that?
Again,
Where
it's
does
one
the
of those.
shame lay? Where does the shame lay? Because one is a woman and one is a boy. Where does the shame lay? Because Janchal, did he just get a get out of jail free card because he was a male? And
Pretty much.
yeah, is it, so it is. It's got to do with the fact that he was male, and then your sister got backlash because she was female.
Bhavana, if I'm assuming you have children. Now,
No, I don't actually.
you don't have any children, okay. So if you
Yeah,
did, and
not yet.
your daughter or your son come to you and say, you know what, hey, I'm in love with someone from another race, would you, with all the changes that's occurring, what would your response to be and why?
Look, I would see firstly, I would not be totally, against it. However, I would want to understand their acceptance level. Supposing she's getting married to a Christian, and I would want to know whether their family is, accepting the whole relationship, and do they want him to convert or not? Because I know a lot of people who want you to convert later on. So, and first of all, if my child will be okay with that, and if he is okay, I would say that's fine. However, if I feel that he's not okay, and there would be a lot of misunderstandings due to different backgrounds, so there has to be a lot of things they have to work their way out, with respect to their own internal conflicts, the value system. And if they see eye to eye in terms of all those things, I would say that yes, go ahead. But if I feel that there is a kind of a conflict that they may get into, I would want them to be very, very careful before they actually tie the knot, and just go through the whole thing of how they want the children to be raised, what faith they should be following, what schooling will they do, and do they want to stay with us, or do they want to live somewhere else. So I would want them to really think this through before they would actually go ahead and take the plunge. Because I would just say one thing. Being in India, when I got married, there was just one thing that my father told me. He said that think of a marriage as a irreversible chemical reaction. You can just do it once. That's the value system I come from. Okay, so I wouldn't want to see my children tomorrow getting into a relationship where after some time they feel suffocated, they feel that they've lost their own identity somewhere, what they grew up with. I want them to feel happy with themselves, with the people, and with their in-laws, and accepted by everyone. So
But the acceptance, like I look at Janchal, he seems to be accepted, from both sides. So we're always worried about acceptance. But how would we ever know if there is acceptance unless we try it out. I mean, Parm's sister took the dip, she tried it out. I mean, you're talking what is this, 10, 15, 20 years ago, Parm, when your sister took the dip, like when she decided to get married?
Well, yeah, she left at 95, yeah, so she probably married around 96, 97.
And there were probably more challenging times because at that time, I think interracial marriages were maybe just beginning to surface and people were coming out. So just to
There was no internet, there was no TV, there was no radio shows, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm kind of surprised. During Janto's time in 1978, there was acceptance. But now, 30 years in the future, where we think, there should be more evolution, but we're tending to go backwards because a lot of people that we interviewed, they're adamant and they're very strong that there should be no interracial marriages. But yet here we are, 30 years after the fact. It seems that we're going backwards. Why is that?
Well, I don't know if we're going backwards. Sorry, carry on, Parm.
I think people can only come into a realization when they've suffered. If you've suffered something in your life and you've experienced something, it'll broaden your horizon. If you just go through life just like a level playing field and you never suffer any type of drama or pain, then everything's easy, then it's different. But if there's some dramatic event that's happened in your life that's traumatizing, if it's through divorce or any other sort of thing like that, then you start to awaken. And a lot of people are sleeping. They're not awake.
That's true. Well,
the
no, Jansel, would
self-awareness
you?
isn't there.
Oh,
Sorry. Jansel, would you, like, when it came to your siblings and when it came to your family, were you open to everyone, even your nieces and nephews, even though you understood their culture was a little bit more maybe judgmental? I'm not sure which word I would use here. Would you still be accepting that, yes, my Taya's daughter, she or he got, let's say she, would you be accepting of your niece or nephew getting married to interracially?
okay. I gave you example of my nephew. He's 29 years old now. His parents told him, just go find anybody you can find. Doesn't matter as long as you are happy.
But that's a nephew. What if it was a niece? Would that be? What if it was a daughter? Would they be okay saying that?
Never heard that, but like Paul said there, that it is stigma in our community. If a daughter get to marry someone else, they call it's no good. But if a son gets somebody else, is okay. I know I have my friends. They go to gym. Their children go to gym. Majority of the people I know, their boys are getting married to a different race, different culture, and they are being accepted. Some girls coming to visit. My younger son, live with me in the main floor. His wife is also from different culture, and all those girls coming to our house, they are Spanish, they are this and that, and they are going to get married to Indian boys, and the parents are my friends, and they are accepting them.
So in your circle of friends, there are more interracial marriages?
They are being accepted now, and their few weddings are coming up next year actually, and I know them, and their daughter-in-laws are Spanish and few others, and they are happy. And one of my friend's son got married. He got married to a Spanish girl, about a month ago, and like my friend and his wife are so happy that our son got a good partner.
So,
Spanish girls look Indian anyways. So it's okay.
It's all about the look.
I think it's the pressure of the parents. If you are strong-minded, you have to take the pressure sometime to just ignore it. If you want your life to be happy, it's not the culture. It's not the stigma of the culture. If you take that stigma with you, then you're not going to be happy.
Well,
just forget about those things.
Yeah. No, like Bhavana said, she said that you're taking on extra stress. I mean, there's so many stresses to marriage. When you're getting married, there's so much stress that comes with marriage. And now you're getting interracially married, and now you've just added an extra stress onto yourself.
And there's more kids and whatnot, right?
Well, because then the children come, the religion comes, the two clashing of the cultures come. How would you respond to that, Bhavana?
See, I think what Param was saying right now, and sorry, Chanchal was saying right now is right. Like if you will look at the numbers, by 2010 there were 15.5% of all new marriages in the United States which were mixed. So while the number has definitely gone up, but the rising number of these newly married biracial couple, do they necessarily translate to a happily ever after? No, not really, because the thing is that the couples from different backgrounds, may fall apart because of the failure of handling the differences. Now, he just said that you have to really, think about yourself. You should not feel judged, or you should just look for your happiness. I mean, this might be good initially. In the beginning, you might feel okay. I mean, if we both agree, just we don't give two hoots about everyone else. I mean, let's just go and make our own home and start our new family, etc., etc. But then you need to realize that you are discounting a lot of other facts that you will be facing as your life carries on, and you are failing to recognize actually the importance of your interfaith marriage, because there could be a lot. Yeah.
See, what I'm thinking is, if culture, like when let's say the South Asian community, they get married. This is actually, I had a conversation with another person I was interviewing, and they said that they felt that the same marriage was so important because the community helps you make your marriage work. When you're falling apart, the community steps in and says, be it your thai, chaches, mama, mamus, or whoever, they'll step in and say, no, you got to make this marriage work. The families will sit together and make it work.
Yes. Karen, I completely agree with you. You see, community plays a vital role in our lives. See, as we have a basic need of food and shelter, everyone has a basic need to feel a sense of belongingness to their culture, to their people, to the language they speak, which could be a huge barrier. I mean, I can tell you, that I have known people when they were dating interracially, they were very, they were not very comfortable telling their parents that they are romantically involved. And if I were to extrapolate it, there are only, there's a study which says that there are only 2/3 of the American who says that we are okay to have someone who's not from our own race into our family. So there could be a whole lot of pressure, that a whole lot of compromise. And now this compromise is not only by the couple. So the first level of compromise is that the couple wants to agree on certain, they have to set certain boundaries. They have to, see how the things will work, but also by the parents on each side. And then comes the extended family, which is very important.
Well, another thing I want to point out, Bhavana, we're talking now, some people would say that's suppression. There was times, a lot of it worked in benefit where the families would come together, and, one side would be suppressed of, well, why can't you just make the roti? Why can't you just do this? So a woman would just learn to accept her role and carry on with suppression. Now, my question falls to Chanchal then. How did you make it work? I mean, it had to be true love for you to stay and make your own marriage work. You didn't have that whole Indian community saying, no, you have to make it work, because now it's a foreign place for, you to be interracially married. It was probably foreign to your brothers, to your siblings, to your parents. So you had to make it work on your own. Was there ever a time you had to get the families involved and make it work, or was it just on you and your spouse?
No, so when you involve your family to work, it means you are not strong. You are not strong enough yourself. You have to work between you and your partner to work out. If you start asking your friends or families how to work out, it means you're not going to be successful at all. That's interference from the other member of the community. So if you start listening to them, letting them interfering in your life, of course your life not going to be successful.
But Chanchal, you must have had ups and downs in your relationship.
That's happened in any life. It doesn't matter in your own culture, another culture, right? Up and down comes, but you have to compromise on it.
But did you ever get your family or someone else from the community, Perpend or Sarpanch or anyone involved, and to come and
never.
Parm, you have a view on this one. Parm would like to, I think Parm wants to
Well,
respond to you, Chanchal.
Huh? Okay.
Well, it is suppression when, I mean, I went through that when my first marriage is like, the families would get together, and it does put it puts pressure on the person, because they don't want to be disowned. Then it becomes financial reasons, and then you got kids involved, and your education level. I mean, money does play a big part in things. If you become a stronger person too, if you got money in your pocket, and you can do whatever you want. So you can do things, and how you deal with pain. So that system of it is a suppression where families get involved, because really what they're doing is they're looking at their own interest for the most part anyway. The parents don't want to get let down, right? You can say, oh, daughter's divorced. They don't want to say our son got divorced, right?
Well, guys,
That's their ultimate agenda, actually.
Parm, thank you for your input, but this is all the time we have for this great debate.
Do you know, I had a fabulous time. Paul, this has been it's been a great show.
It has been.
Yes, and we'd like to thank, our fabulous panelists and our producer, Raja Shergill. If it wasn't for them, this debate would not have taken place.
And we hope this was educational for everyone, including our listeners. Karen, you know what? What I've taken away from this Garam debate is, even though we live in a multicultural nation, which to me personally means change and acceptance, the movement to interracial marriages still is slow and is in work in progress.
It's definitely a work in process. But each and every individual deserves to be happy in their way of life. So let's not wait for change, but let's be the change, provided the change bring positive results.
Beautifully said. We would love to hear from you about this debate and topics that you would like us to debate on Garam Chai with Karan and Paul. Please feel free to email us at garamchai@outlook.com. That's GARAMCHAIKP@outlook.com. Until next debate, please
remain safe, healthy, and have a wonderful week.